My name is Vlyssess Edwards. I'm from Region 3. I'm a PWD. I'm a wheelchair user. I'm 27 years of age. I'm a student at the Gin University. I'm also a business student at the Barcelona Executive Business School, also a transfer medical student from Texas to University of Barcelona, also a computer science student at the University of the People. Along with that, I'm also an advocate for persons with disabilities and a small business owner. I became a wheelchair user at the age of 18, which as a result of an accident that was in Crane on the west coast of Demerara. I was training that said year to become an international football referee for the GFF. However, this particular morning I rode, because I normally ride from my home to the Harbour Bridge and back. So this said particular morning, a car drove into me, and result of that is spinal cord injury, bruises, and some memory losses. Adjustment from transition from a normal world, to a disability community is quite a challenge. The transformation from a normal task, getting out of bed, is now difficult. You get to have a lot more tremendous effort into placing into getting out of bed. Also, at the early stages of someone who become a person with disability, there's a lot of focus on that individual in terms of the accessibility, the emotional distress, the discomfort, and all those things that goes along the line. Now, I became a lot more strong-minded, or I should say a strong mental person, because of the position I was in. And I really had to break that barrier, because there were a lot of things that I was going through in terms of depression. I was even thinking about suicide. Nevertheless, I broke those barriers when I was able to overcome the said suicidal thoughts. Nevertheless, to this day, I'm happy that I made this far, because there was a lot of challenges that I was going through and still going through, and being so a role model to other persons with disabilities to see me, or an advocate for persons with disability, to climb these mountains and triumph over them. The depression caused a lot of things, and even for persons with disabilities, you're going through at the early phase in their life after becoming a person with disability. There's a lot of things go through the minds in terms of employment, relationship issues, and those sort of things. I remain motivated and convinced that I'll be able to walk again, apart from many doctors saying there will be no possibility. I remain hopeful. I do a lot of things that would distract my mind from those said issues or those said thoughts that would give me that said depression to step in. For example, I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of video games, I do particular jobs until I was able to get access into I was able to be eligible to be part of these universities. That took a lot of my time, and I'm very thankful for those things. I really can't recall what am I fondest moments. I'll put it this way. In my opinion, as becoming a person with disability and having these memorable moments that I've been through this far, I would say being a person with disability have a lot more recognition than some, in my opinion, when I was walking, because I wouldn't be this far, I wouldn't be this, motivated to be a lot more better than yesterday. When I was able to break the barriers, you get this hope that there is a lot more that is in store. For example, when I was able to go into public for the first time after, I don't know, a year in bed, I felt this urge, I felt this need, I felt this uniqueness to be out in public, and I felt this source of freedom, because there are times where your own home could be your own prison, and that's a very touchy topic by itself. But I end up being a bit more confident, a bit more motivated, and a bit more spiritual to the extent that's where my mental health growth. And the mental health really plays a very vital role in anyone's life, whether you're a person with disabilities or not. So even though you're having this said motivation or this said task that you need to do, mental health do play an important role, whether you're in a relationship, you're studying, or any of that nature. So motivation is part of those things, and if anything that really for me that really motivate me. For example, dancing, cooking, or even having a you know some of your youth time. That'd be essential for any person to have a mental growth. Football was part of my life when I was walking. I used to play a lot of football in London with some of my friends at that time. We used to have our own spot and we used to play like day in, day out. So after my injury or my accident in 2012, I still keep abreast with it. I still try to keep active in terms of the sport. Although a lot of persons will see a person in a wheelchair doing these things and they're like, wow. Some feel motivated, some feel inspired, while some have this criticism of this mental, I don't know, the mental flashback of just because you're a person with disabilities, you'll be able to be in your home or have someone looking after you majority of the time. That's something that most persons with disabilities do not like. I speak from my perspective. Also, since I was become physically active, I became part of wheelchair racing. That was in 2015, and from there I was able to be part of many road races that were able to have persons in wheelchairs be part of. Motivation for personal disabilities. There is a lot of persons that I know, and there are more persons that they are afraid to come out. Nevertheless, my my motivation to you is keep going at it. Be consistent. The more consistent you be, the more results you get. We know along the line of happiness, spiritual growth, leisure time, and all those factors that come along with that said motivation. But is the person or the mentality of every person have that uniqueness. So my motivation is to you is keep it consistent. Whether you find pleasure in what you do, crafts, reading, and so forth, keep going at it. With that said, focus point. And I'm someone who's advocate for persons with disabilities. There is a lot that the society or the general society in Ghana needs to understand about persons with disabilities. For example, we have persons like myself in a wheelchair. The stigma attached to it, the focus attached to it, and there's a lot of things that could be done to change these things. Awareness could be one of those things, seminars could be one of those things. And the more you get to know about persons with disabilities, for example, you don't use the word handicap. There's no such term to define someone who have a disability, a handicap. That's a very, very rational word. Also, the more you know about disabilities, the more you get to understand how the disability community works and go with that said factor. I'm an advocate for persons with disability, and I have an NGO that focuses on persons with disabilities. The Wheelchair Disability Association gives a vital impact on the persons with disabilities on the West Coast. So the general public themselves need to understand that there's a lot to know about persons with disabilities, because you could be walking today or have all your senses today, and in a blink of an eye you lose those things. And the transition from being an able person to a disabled person, that's something really hard to digest and swallow. So in my opinion of society being educated with disabilities, there's a lot to learn, and there's no harm in spending 1 or 5 minutes learning about persons with disabilities or how you can adapt it. For example, you also see someone with a disability. There's no problem with reading about it. Have the knowledge.